Hey guys, Paul and Chris here. We're at Spa-Francorchamps, the beautiful Spa-Francorchamps, for the third round of the SRO Esport GT Series. Chris, how are you? How excited are you to be here?
Paul, it is incredible to be here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. I've been watching this event, the Spa 24 Hours, for years on television. It's fantastic to finally make it here. We are sat in an esport park overlooking Eau Rouge and the bus stop chicane. This couldn't be a better place, but it's not all about real world racing today. Paul, are you excited for the esport competition kicking off very shortly?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's the third round of the SRO Esport GT Series. We've been to Paul Ricard last time out, glorious sunshine. Started the season at the Temple of Speed at Monza, and now we're ticking off, personally for me, bucket list tracks. So you've already alluded to, we're at Spa. We've got some new equipment that our drivers are using here today. So, Chris, what's different for Spa?
Well, the biggest difference really is the challenge of the circuit. The fact that it's almost certainly going to be a night race. I don't know exactly what's going to happen because they don't tell us, because that would be stupid. But also the equipment's changed for this round. With the brand sponsor for this is Fanatec and R-Seat. So the rigs are provided by a different manufacturer. Previously we had Thrustmaster. So anyone that's built up muscle memory preparing for Thrustmaster will have a unique challenge here, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, there's Fanatec, we've got R-Seat, we're still using the ultra-wide monitors, which are wonderful. And it's a different dynamic at Spa. We've got, I mean, you can probably hear it over the top of our voices, hopefully not too far over the top. We are right in the heart of the paddock, which, because of the layout of Spa, it's in a bowl, we're right in the heart of the circuit, so there's a lot of very beautiful sounding GT3 cars floating around in the background. Memory serves me, we've got 73 cars starting the race. That, from a spectator's point of view, is going to be spectacular. From a commentator's point of view on an eSports series, having them starting next to where we're commentating from is going to be curious how that one pans out. And there's just something special about seeing these cars on this track and then doing our thing as well, bringing the eSport aspect closer to the real world series at one of the most historic and iconic tracks. And to go back to the eSports side a minute, Chris, if I can, we've got the pros, the silvers, the AMs. Is there anything that you're particularly excited about seeing this time around?
I think the races in Monza and Paul Ricard demonstrated that the silver races are where all of the action is. These guys qualified on their rigs at home, put in the hours, and have travelled out here to Spa-Francorchamps to take part in an extraordinarily big event in their esports careers. The pro drivers are obviously very well prepared and make very few mistakes, but the silver drivers, if anything, have been just as fast and just as good in racing conditions. So for me, it's the silver drivers, Paul. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you touch on a really good point. The silvers have practiced at home, they've put the laps in, they've put the time in, and they've become the master of the car and conditions. And frankly, guys, I can't wait to get all the action presented to you on the RD TV Twitch channel. Tune in and enjoy. Hello and welcome to Spa-Francorchamps for today's final race of the SRO Esport GT Series Round 3. My name's Paul Jeffrey, and this young man alongside me is Mr. Christopher Hay. How you doing?
Am I not like a few days older than you or something stupid?
Yeah, this is true. But hey-ho, it's been a long weekend. Both young men.
Yeah.
Thank you, as always, everyone, for joining in. This is the round finale of this wonderful weekend of racing at Spa-Francorchamps that we've had. And I've had the time of my life so far. Chris, looking forward to the next race.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. The action out on the real track has had some big stoppages, but when it's been going, it's been absolutely banzai. And the races we had yesterday just got progressively better and better. The pro race started off with some excellent clean fighting between some of the best drivers in esports. But as we progressed through the silvers and the AMs, it just got better and better, Paul.
They have, and so this is the final race of the weekend. We're going to be seeing Pro Silvers and AMs racing together, but before we head over to the live qualification that's taking place now, we're going to take this opportunity just to introduce the drivers that are racing in our round finale.
Hi, my name is Moreno Sirica. I'm 22 years old. I'm coming from Italy and I'm racing for Williams Gym Esports.
Hi, my name is Gianfranco Giglioli. I came from Italy and I'm racing for Trustmaster Esports.
Hello, I'm Axel Pochi. I'm from France. I'm a racing driver for TX3 Virtual Driver.
Hello, I'm Nikodem Wiśniewski. I'm from Poland, 25 years old, and I'm representing Williams Esports.
Hi, my name is Joni Törmälä. I come from Finland and I drive for Red Bull Racing Esports team.
Hey, I'm Kuba Brzezinski. I'm 22 years old. I'm driving for Williams Esports.
Hi, my name is Mark Jasner. I am from Germany and I drive for the Williams Gym Esports team.
Hello, my name is Kamil Pawłowski. I'm known as Kaki in sim racing world. I come from Poland and I'm driving for Trustmaster Esports.
Hi, I'm Pierluca Amato. I'm from Italy and I drive for Samsung Morningstar.
Hello, my name is Erhan Jajowski. I come from Macedonia and I drive for Team Virus.
Hello, I'm Yuri Karsdorp. I'm from the Netherlands and I drive for Team Singularity Racing.
Hi, I am Fabien Tarasi from France and I drive for Enki Design by TX3.
We've got a fairly sprightly formation lap here, so this won't be taking too long as the cars go through campus and the absolutely challenging Stavolo corner. We had an accident yesterday in the pro race that put Giglioli into the barrier backwards that was mirrored about an hour later in the 24 hours of Spa when one of the Bentleys went into the barrier there.
It was indeed, Chris.
Spookily similar accident, and it is Stavolo that's been catching people out.
So we even do the crashes realistically in ACC, which is always nice to see. And this is going to be a good one. So again, to clarify, just to make sure we're perfectly clear, this is the last race of the weekend. It's going to be 45 minutes in length, and I've drunk too much water, so that will be exciting commentating on this for 45 minutes. It's going to be 45 minutes in length, and the top 3 drivers from this race will qualify for to attend the season finale in Barcelona at the end of September. So the stakes are high. The stakes are high as the drivers are doing a bit of weaving now, get some final heat in the tyres before we cross the start-finish straight for what should hopefully be a very exciting event.
Yeah, tyre prep getting a lot more aggressive now. We haven't seen too much in the way of aggressive accelerating and braking as they come around the bus stop. Just a quick reminder that at the Spa 24 hours, the race starts from the start line after La Source, not the Formula One start line. It's not the line you've just seen the pass now, but the finishing line is that very line there.
Yep, and that caught us out a little bit earlier in the weekend when we wondered why we stayed red
I
coming into the
wasn't really
source.
paying total attention, if I'm honest, Paul.
No, and I had a little bit of brain fade, which is something I'm really good at. So, Tamala starting to up the pace a little bit now. He's going to be looking for the lights on the gantry above the start-finish straight as he looks to make a clean getaway, get a nice, strong acceleration up to Eau Rouge and start to build a gap. The cars are in 2x2 formation, lights are blazing, engine revs are rising, and we are getting ready to go for what is the final round of the SRO Esport GT Series here at Spa-Francorchamps, up Eau Rouge. The cars are keeping nice and line astern. A very clean start from everybody. Everybody starting to settle down, look for an advantage as they run down the Kemmel Straight into Le Combe, the first real overtaking opportunity of the lap.
Axel Petit under pressure from several Bentleys behind, already going defensive. As we see Kasdorp try and go around the outside of Tamala, manages to make the move. We saw some great overtakes at Le Combe, 3 wide through Le Combe behind, but well done to Yuri Kasdorp, who just pulls off a very critical move at this point in the race.
Yeah, fantastic overtaking move from Kasdorp and fantastic driving throughout the field as we've been a lot of overtaking, a lot of jockeying for position, but so far no contact amongst the grid, and Yuri Kasdorp takes an early lead in the Bentley with Tamala hanging on in the blue AMG Mercedes in P2, Axel Petit in third.
Yeah, he managed to fend off Joukowsky and Gazna, who were looming large behind him as he had to go defensive into Lecombe on lap 1, and then we got distracted by the pass for the lead.
Halfway round the opening lap then, there's no significant movers or shakers through the field apart from Kazdorp in the prime seats at the front of the grid, and already the Mercedes is starting to look like it's lacking a little bit of pace in this early stages of the race, with Axel Petit closing very, very close to the rear of the car, looking to effect an overtake before arguably the best place would be the bus stop chicane at this stage in the race.
Yeah, we saw this yesterday. The Mercedes just didn't seem great at the beginning part of the race. Maybe it takes a little bit more time to get heat into the tyres.
It does indeed, as Axel Petit now is under significant pressure from Tamala under significant pressure from Axel Petit. Petit gets his car up the inside. Tamala decides better of it, comes off the gas and allows what ended up being a relatively easy overtake from the big Bentley.
Yeah, that was textbook stuff, really. Getting the overtake done that far before Blanchimont is quite impressive. Tamala seemed to struggle a little bit going into Stavelot and just didn't carry enough speed out of the corner, and ultimately was sitting duck.
He was, and Tamala may have learned a lesson from earlier in the race when he went a little bit too hard too soon and got himself involved in some incidents. So now it's just a case of getting the car settled down and seeing where the performance sits. But he's under pressure again from Joukowsky behind. Joukowsky coming up through Eau Rouge over Radion at the top of the hill. He's looking to try and get a slipstream down the Kemmel Straight. He's going early. Joukowsky going early to the outside.
Yeah, no, that's surprising stuff. Has had to actually dip back in, try and sample a little bit more of the slipstream, and he's going to be forced to go around the long way into Lecombe. We've seen a few successful passes there, but this one wasn't.
Yep, Tamala, wise to that move, gets to the inside line, leaves his braking just late enough to maintain his position. So some good driving from both drivers there, and actually that's now put Joukowsky under a little bit of pressure from Gazna behind. So Joukowsky had an attempt to overtake, thought better of it, came back out again, and because the field is so tightly packed, folks, that the cars behind are now crawling all over the rear, of the beautiful rear of that Bentley in front.
Yeah, we saw some fantastic overtaking and racecraft in general from Mark Gazna yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do against Joukowsky, who I think had a little bit of an easier time in his heat.
He did, and at the front of the field, just Axel Petit is 7/10 away from Yuri Kazdorp. So Kazdorp starting to make a little push at the front of the grid, but not making significant ground. But this fight, Chris, is looking absolutely fantastic for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, headed so far by Tamala in the AMG Mercedes.
Yeah, this is action-packed stuff. It doesn't look like Tamala doesn't have the car under him at the moment, and perhaps it's a question of time before Joukowsky, Gazna and Brzezinski behind all get past, and then perhaps the car comes back to him and we see him fight his way back through the field.
Of course, and again, just to clarify, in this race, the top 3 is where you need to finish to qualify for the final, as again, Tamala under serious pressure on the run up to the bus stop chicane. Will he go to the inside? But then he has to be very careful on the brakes, a very tricky position. It's a long race, still 40 minutes to go, and Gazna wisely comes back out of it, allows Tamala to outbrake himself slightly, but unfortunately gets a wiggle on out the bus stop chicane and loses the advantage he gained from being a little bit more circumspect on the brakes.
Yeah, Tamala very much the cork in a Bentley-filled bottle at the moment.
He is Tamala now. As we said earlier, the Mercedes seems a little bit slower to pick the pace up at the beginning of the race, but comes alive later on. If Tamala can hang on for the next 4 or 5 laps, he may start finding some lap time coming back to the only Mercedes that we've got at the moment in the field. Now a little bit further back, Brzezinski and Amato are practically nose to tail coming up Eau Rouge and onto the Kemmel Straight. This is again another opportunity, one of the key passing places on the track, as Joukowsky's thinking, showing the inside of his nose to Tamala in front, but he's just too far away at this stage.
Yeah, not quite close enough this time around. We found that the slipstream is really effective within about 0.3 of a second here, not quite as good as Paul Ricard. And although the Bentley does pull very well up the hill, as behind them it looks like Amato going down the inside of Brzezinski.
Yep, that's a really nice, really clean pass there. So Amato got a little bit of a run on Brzezinski, got up the inside line, block pass, nowhere for Brzezinski to go, and another very, very composed and professional overtake and driving from those two a little bit further down the running order. Meanwhile, just talking about Gianfranco Gigioli, appears to be out of the race, so the run of seriously bad luck for Gigioli continues. Very talented driver, shown a lot of pace from the times we've seen him on track, but is out this very early running. Not quite sure what happened to Gigioli there, but if we find out, we will let you know.
Yeah, he's not had the rub of the luck, it would seem, but the real mover and shaker at the moment is Axel Petit in second place, who's starting to reel in Kasdorp now. Looking at his last lap, he was about a tenth and a half quicker, as he has been for a while, as Joukowsky is now deep into the slipstream of Tamala again, on the run down to Blanchimont. Is he going to try and make a move around the outside? He's not quite, but he is right in the pound seats for the run down to the bus stop chicane, moves to the outside. Once again, Tamala doing an excellent job of positioning the car to defend, doesn't run deep this time, and actually, if anything, gets a better run through the bus stop than Joukowsky.
That's a nice little bit of driving there. It's a very difficult chicane, a very awkward corner is the bus stop chicane. Very easy, especially in close combat situations, to overshoot your brake marker. So good driving there from both drivers. Both very conscious that there is still 38 minutes to go, so still 8 minutes longer than the normal Saturday races that we've held so far. Plenty of time to live to fight another day.
Yeah, we've seen some excellent defensive work already from Tamala. And to be honest, his lap times are pretty similar to the guys in front now.
Pretty similar, but Tamala actually, Chris, sorry to cut across you there, got a little bit out of shape up Eau Rouge and has put himself under pressure now heading into Le Combe as Joukowsky looking up the inside, feels is a little bit too far away. The Mercedes seems quite nippy in a straight line and not just a little bit too much power to allow the Bentley to pull alongside, and that keeps the pack quite tightly behind, and it's good for us on the broadcast to see what's turning out to be a really nice race from third on down.
Yeah, Tamala lap times decent at the moment, and I think you're right, Paul. You said earlier if he can just hold on for a bit as he runs very wide through the corner with no name before Pouhon. That's going to put him under pressure again. It's almost impossible to overtake on the inside of Pouhon unless you've got a huge overspeed, which Joukowsky doesn't have this time, although we have seen a couple of passes into Fagnes, so let's see how this unfolds.
Yep, Tamala getting a little bit struffy in the Mercedes at the moment, putting himself under undue pressure, and it's got an air of inevitability about this one, and as we get another follower on the stream, so thank you very much. Please do give us a like and subscribe on our RD Twitch channel. We would appreciate it. And Tamala again, a little bit wide, but manages to recover it, not losing too much time in this battle for the all-important final place on the podium.
So here we go again. Second lap, exactly the same repeat. Tamala with Joukowsky deep into the slipstream. He couldn't get the move done before Blanchimont last time, and it doesn't look like he's close enough now.
Tamala very good on the brakes into the bus stop chicane, so this will be a case of staying to the inside line, making Joukowsky go the long way around, closing back onto the racing line to not give him space, keeping it nice and under control. There's a spinner in front, there is a spinner in front. Everybody manages just by the skin of their teeth to avoid that stranded car, and Axel Petit now leads. That was Yuri Kasdorp, our race leader, has lost it at the bus stop chicane. I'm not sure what happened there, but Kasdorp plummeting down the running order now. This is a significant change to the complexion even of the race, Chris.
Yeah, he'll be justifiably upset with whatever's happened there. But interesting, the move between Tamala and Joukowsky was a complete carbon copy of what happened the previous lap, all the way from Stavelot to bus stop.
Yeah, great driving from those two, and Kasdorp has managed to recover the car. He is currently in, I believe, P8. So
here we go, Joukowsky round the outside into Legum. We've seen this work for other drivers. Can he make it stick? In fact, he's ahead before the braking zone.
I think
fantastic work, and a critical move as they are just behind Axel Petit and the lead of the race.
I think that may have been a strategic move from Tamala, having moved himself up to P2 with following the mistake from Kasdorp. I think he's allowed Joukowsky to go past, keep himself out of the pressure positions and protect that all-important third place. It seemed like a relatively easy overtake there for Joukowsky.
He didn't fight that hard, did he?
No, it wasn't as closely fought as it has been up to this point. So intelligent driving from both drivers there.
What that does mean is the top sort of 5 or 6 drivers are within 3 or 4 seconds now. So 10 minutes into the race, it's all to play for at the front.
It absolutely is. So just to clarify the running order for you for a moment, Axel Petit now leads the race following the spin from Kasdorp at the bus stop chicane. Joukowsky is in P2, followed closely by Tamala, whom is just overtaken. Brzezinski in 4th and Marto 5th. Gazner in P6, Wisniewski in 7th, Sarika 8th, Kazdo recovering in position 9th, Tarachi in P10, Pavlovsky in 11th, and Gigioli out of the race. As we see a replay now, very spicy rejoin there for Kazdo.
It looked a lot like he came together with Axel Petit there. Obviously, so the replay showing the tail end of the incident rather than the very beginning, but it looks like perhaps an overtake for the lead by Axel Petit. Got a little bit touching there.
Yes, it did. So, again, there's another spinner in the background there coming out of the Bustow chicane. So we see another one of the many Bentleys, making it very difficult to work out which one, spinning and just bringing himself back onto the circuit again. There's no damage. I don't think he hit anything there, but it's all happening, Chris. As soon as one card falls, it seems like the rest follow very quickly.
Yeah, I think that was Amato. In fact, it was Amato who'd worked his way up to about 4th or 5th place, I believe, and now down into 10th. Yuri Kazdorp now up to 8th. He's made a couple of positions back on that lap and is going to charge away back through the field as we watch Mark Gasner right on the tail of Brzezinski now. Actually, got a little bit wide over the top of Radillon, and that's going to cost him all of the way down into Les Combes. Yeah, this is not a move that's going to happen this lap. While ahead, it looks like Brzezinski has got ahead of Tamala in the AMG.
So
now dropped down to 4th.
Kuba Brzezinski making his move up through the field, so that's an important overtake. That is the important 3rd position, which will put him on the podium for, well, if he can hold that place anyway, we'll put him on the podium and put him on the podium. That sounds like a really popular song. Anyway, carrying on. So Tamala hanging on in the Mercedes AMG to the back of Brzezinski. I've not seen much of Brzezinski, Chris, in this race. I don't know where his ultimate pace is in comparison to Tamala.
Well, if you remember, during I believe it was the pro race yesterday, he managed to, he ended up a lap down and was massively on the pace. He was a lap down but kept pace with the leaders throughout most of the following 20 minutes or so. So I believe he has the ultimate pace to, well, potentially win this, Paul.
Yeah, I believe so. But we've seen it already. We've seen it in this race. We've seen it in previous races. It's very, very, very easy to make a mistake, even when under no or relatively little pressure. So although the fights on track are close, there's no letting up from any of the drivers.
It's a bit cocky of you suggesting that it's very little pressure, Paul.
Well, relatively speaking, it's very little pressure sat here watching these guys. I'm enjoying this one so far. So we've got 31.5 minutes remaining. At the moment, I'm going to have to step away from the commentary booth for a moment and leave you in the very capable hands of Mr. Chris Hay, and I will be back very shortly.
No problem, Paul. Just watching Journey Tamala in the beautiful Black Falcon Mercedes on the run down into La Source. Let's stay on board with this for a little bit just to see how that car is behaving underneath him. This is obviously we've not seen a great deal of onboard shots, and I think one of the big stories of this race is how Tamala's car is going to evolve throughout. We've not seen the ultimate long-term potential of the Mercedes. We've seen very much throughout any of the races, if you watched them yesterday, what the Bentley can do. Tamala has struggled in the early parts of the race, but we saw, for example, Maximilian Verde yesterday also took the AMG Mercedes, had the first 15 minutes of the race struggled, but for the following 15 minutes, everything was much, much better, and he made his way back through the field and seemed to have very, very good pace. So for me, the big unfolding story will be what can Journey Tamala do with the next 30 minutes of his afternoon. Up ahead of them, Axel Petit is still 0.7 of a second ahead of Joukowsky. Brzezinski a couple of seconds behind, and just ahead of this battle for 4th with Tamala and Gasner. Further back down the field, we've got a recovering series of drivers. Yuri Kazdorp now actually a lap down. I don't know if he's pitted. I can't see on the computer in front of me. Actually now, while he was making his way through the field, just a little bit off the pace and perhaps having to pit to repair damage, or may have even retired the car. I'll try and clarify for that one for you shortly. Petit in the lead, still setting very, very fast lap times. In fact, lap times close, between the top two, 2:17.7s for both of them on the previous laps, while behind most drivers deep into the 2:18s. In fact, Journey Tamala in the 2:19s there, as he's embroiled in battles with Bentleys left, right and centre. Looking now at Nikodem Wisniewski coming under pressure from Sarika. In fact, as Tamala now massively under pressure again from Gasner behind, who goes to the outside on the run down to bus stop. We've seen Tamala do excellent defending here, but the overspeed of the Bentley just too much this time. Runs a little bit deep into the bus stop, but it's so easy to plant your car on the apex and get a good drive out. That being said, Tamala got a great drive off of the second part of bus stop, and now looking to go around the outside into La Source. We've seen that work this weekend before, but it's not the conventional overtaking route. Tries to switch back, and to be honest, there's just not enough left in the tank to be able to pull that move off. Lots of action here, lap after lap, plenty of, most of it involving Joni Tamala one way or another, who is definitely giving me a nice easy time of the solo commentary gig at the moment as he goes very, very, very flat line through Radion, trying to keep touch with Gasner in front. The question is, for me, is that AMG going to switch on? Is it going to come to life? As behind we see Sarika and Wisniewski, I believe, getting into it. Sarika getting past Wisniewski into Lecombe in what looked like a pretty late braking maneuver. I believe Paul has joined me back in the commentary box.
Hello, Chris. My sincere apologies for that one. Staying hydrated has its downsides. So, really sorry, my greatest fear has come true.
It's all right, I haven't breathed for the last 2 minutes. Turns out I talk way more than you do. I'll apologise to the viewers for that.
My apologies, viewers. And what have we missed then? So, Petit still leading, Joukowsky still in P2. It's still a very tight race. We've still got 27 minutes. So normally we run a 30-minute race in the blank pan in the SRO Esport GT series, but now we've got a 45-minute race, and there's still the full race distance from the semis left to run, and the fight at the front's as close as it's ever been.
Yeah,
Axel Petit.
More importantly, the times at the front are so consistent. They were 2:17.7s last lap, 2:17.6s this lap for both Petit and Joukowsky. As I said, further behind, everyone's still in the 2:18s. We've seen the cars and particularly tyres evolve quite a lot between lap after lap through as the track changes. Temperature now up to 22 degrees in the air and on track temperature. We'd expect the track temperature to exceed the air temperature pretty soon as the sun starts to rise at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yes, it's been interesting to watch this race progress. We started off early in the morning in night conditions. It's 6:20 a.m. Now, 26 and a half minutes on the clock. And Petit is doing a really good job. It's a 1.2 second gap now ahead of Joukowsky in second. So Petit really getting the hammer down and showing a turn of pace that we've not really seen from him at this stage in the weekend.
Yeah, it looks like Joukowsky's had a pretty scruffy final sector of the last lap, 4/10 slower than Axel Petit, and that's what's made all the difference. A massive 1.2 seconds is the biggest we've seen that gap. Looking back again at Joni Tamala, who's featured in probably 70% of this broadcast one way or another, giving us a good value for money, I think.
He is. We always seem to get one driver where excitement follows them around the track, and Tamala is very much making a bid to be that driver. Just to go back to an earlier incident we saw where Yuri Kazdorp dropped the car from one of the podium positions. Kazdorp is now out of the race, so that marks our second retirement alongside Gianfranco Gigiola, leaving us 10 cars left on the track, headed by Axel Petit, who's really coming good when it matters the most in the final round. Erhan Joukowsky in second position, 1.2 away. Brzezinski rounding out the podium places, followed by Gasner in P4. In 5, we've got Tamala with Sasuka in 6th, Wisniewski 7th, Amato 8th, Takaki 9th, and Pavlovsky rounding out the remaining runners on the circuit.
So yeah, stories unfolding at the moment is, can Mark Gasner bridge that 2-second gap up to Brzezinski and onto the all-important podium place? And can Joni Tamala hold off Sarika in the fast-charging Bentley behind? The temperatures haven't risen all that much yet, so we're sort of expecting that AMG to come good, or hoping the AMG will come good at some point.
It needs to come good soon to keep him in contention. And
hopefully
speaking
before
of
Blanchimont.
Yeah, and speaking of the AMG, it's under significant pressure now on the inside line. The Bentley gets out of control around the outside and actually takes the position off of the racetrack. So that's a risky manoeuvre from the Sasuka Bentley being now in P5.
I'm absolutely sure the stewards will be looking at that.
He
got
may wish.
a big tank slapper on going through the Blanchimont, and, well, as you saw, just taking the sort of casual line around the outside, across the tarmac runoff.
Yep, and Tamala he's got a bit between the teeth now. He's not happy about that manoeuvre, so he's going to look to push up Eau Rouge, get a slipstream coming onto the Kemmel Straight, but he's a little bit too far behind, and that Mercedes now really does look to be struggling lap time wise relative to the competition around it. And as we suspected earlier, Chris, while in P3 it was very important to maintain that position, maintain that track position, in the hope that the car will come good later in the race. And now the stopgap has been, the cork has been popped on the bottle. It's the only ways down, unfortunately, for Tamala at this moment in time.
He's only a few tenths ahead of Joukowsky behind. That 4.9 it shows on your screen is from the beginning of the last sector. It's definitely less than that now, and he will be under pressure again on the run into Blanchimont. Look how much extra grip the Bentley seems to have through Bruxelles there, through the corner with no name as Nikodem Winevsky sails a little bit wide of the apex. Let's see how the Bentley goes. Oh, we've lost the camera now. I was going to say, let's see how it takes put on, but the stream director's changed his mind, and we can see the beautiful exterior of the Bentley Continental GT3.
It really is an attractive car, and Wisniewski does look like he's pushing this to the absolute limit it's capable of at this stage in the race, as he looks to try and close the gap down and effect an overtake on Joni Tamala in front. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Joukowsky is now 9 tenths, so he's closed a couple of tenths of a second in the last lap to our race leader, Axel Petit. That fight is going to go on and on for the final 22 minutes and change of this final round of the weekend.
Yeah, his Joukowsky's last 2 laps have been quicker than Petit. He's doing the job of reeling him in. It has to be said, in the races we saw yesterday, getting up to a second behind the car in front was reasonably straightforward if you had the pace, but it's closing in that last second that's the real task.
It is, and when you've got drivers of this level, much like in high-level professional motorsport, it's not a case of just nipping past when they make a mistake. It's a very strategic and technical game, working out where your car is faster at what part of the circuit. But with everybody running a Bentley for this race, pretty much, they're broadly very, very even cars. It's just a case of setup differences between car to car, driver to driver, where people can look to find an advantage. You're not going to be able to go up there, Chris, are you? Flash your headlights and watch him sail past his braking line. It just doesn't work like that at this level.
No chance. And watching the two of them from this fantastic helicopter camera go through the Eau Rouge and Rédillon complex there, both cars looking so planted and comfortable, taking massive amounts of all 3 curves, which is how you get up there quickly, but it's scary times in a car that's not absolutely planted. Wisniewski actually not getting ahead of, now ahead of Tamala.
Yep, so Tamala is now in P7. As we predicted, the Mercedes is not quite proving a match over the race distance for the Bentleys, but Tamala is hoping to try and keep in as Winevsky runs very, very wide out onto the marbles. That's going to be very difficult for him to recover the car. Tamala nips through, very easy overtake, and this is an opportunity now for Tamala to get the hammer down over the next few corners while Winevsky brings his tyres back to life again and buy himself a little bit of a margin that he can leverage over the next 20 minutes or so of racing action.
Yeah, it's so easy to just induce a little bit too much understeer in the car through Bruxelles. It's just one of those corners. It's got adverse camber. It goes on seemingly forever. Just you get the tiniest hint of understeer and you can just sail off.
And the Bentley's are a reasonably large vehicle as well, so once you start getting
Vessel is
a
the
vessel,
technical term.
it is somewhat sizable, shall we say. So getting a minor tank slapper in a car of that size, the weight does push it. And again, we see Wisniewski even running wide onto the outside of the circuit. So he's absolutely got everything on the line at the moment in this fight with Tamala.
Yeah, and looking at the gaps in front, they're not a million miles off of the lead. There's still a lot to play for. So while this may only be a battle for sixth place at the moment, track position is all important.
Yeah, track position is important, and it's also an element of personal pride as well. We need our drivers need a top 3 to qualify, but a race is a race, and you see some competition around you. You want to beat your rivals, not least of which is because both of these guys may well face up against each other in one of in our final round at Nürburgring before we go to Barcelona. So this is a little bit of take the first mental battle victory before meeting out on track again, potentially in future, as Radion there, the Mercedes, is really going over the curves, really taking every last bit of tarmac in its bid to stay in front of a fast charging but slightly scruffy at the moment, Nikodem versus Neske.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see Tamala have a lap where he's not having to defend, because at the moment his lap times are just over a second off the ultimate pace at the front. Petit and Joukowsky running in the very high 217s, low 218s. So a whole second a lap off the pace. We've talked at length about whether that AMG is going to come back, but at the moment the Bentley, particularly in the hands of Petit and Joukowsky at the front, separated by just 1 second. That's the car to have for me.
It is. The Mercedes gamble, I'm afraid, has not paid off in this race. The Bentley is very much proving to be the car of choice here at Spa.
Are you trying to induce the commentator's curse, though?
Well, you know how things go. I'm getting good at that.
I would like to see the AMG make it back through the field.
I would, but with 18 minutes to go, there's going to be a significant amount of pace that needs to be found in order to bring this up into the prize-paying positions, as Axel Petit actually looks to be a little bit further away from Joukowsky than he has been in the last couple of laps or so. So maybe Petit's now making a bit of a bid for freedom at the front of the track.
Yeah, we'll wait till they come across the start-finish, well, the finish line, I should say. It's not the start line. In a couple of moments' time, just see where that particular time was lost for Joukowsky. I suspect it's a case of Joukowsky's made a mistake. Petit didn't set a particularly fast lap time, and yeah, Joukowsky a little bit slower. So maybe the tyres are now starting to go away. 218.1 now. Well, they were deep into the 17s for the last few laps. So yeah, 218.1 for Petit and a 218.35 for Joukowsky. Probably 4 or 5 tenths now off of the pace they were setting 5 or so minutes ago.
So we're significantly away from the qualification times, if you remember, was in very much in the mid 2 minute 15 seconds. Obviously there's more fuel on board, significantly more fuel on board the cars for the race. The weather conditions are different. The track temperature now has risen to 23 degrees centigrade, so it's the warmest our drivers have had to contend with so far in this event, heading into what is just over 15, well, just over 16 minutes worth of running left. And actually, I've been talking about Petit. I don't know if it's a camera angle issue there. Talking about Petit seeming to get a bigger gap. That gap seems to have closed down to Joukowsky now. So maybe Aron Joukowsky is looking to see if he can do something about taking away the top prize.
Yeah, it's a risky prediction to make based on camera angles, Paul. Big telephoto lens pushes everything together, so perhaps we'll wait and see what the live timing says.
I'm looking for excitement where excitement doesn't necessarily exist, is what I'm trying to do. A lot of the field now, we are starting to see a little bit of field spread amongst the top 5 drivers. The closest battle, once again, no surprises, is Yanni Tamala in the Mercedes. Now 7 tenths behind Neske for 6.
Interesting, isn't it? Wisniewski seemed to cruise up to the back of him, get past. He had that little mistake, then repassed him, but Tamala's staying in tow. Maybe that Mercedes is starting to come back to him.
Yes.
That being said, yeah, now, interestingly, Tamala setting pretty much similar lap times to what he'd previously been setting, but the rest of the field seems to be slowing. Maybe that will come back to us.
Yeah, we suggested that maybe there could be a case of the Mercedes coming alive a little bit as the temperature rise, as we see Joukowsky going quite deep there into the Bustow chicane, losing out a little bit, but Petit was quite scruffy through there as well, so the net loss or gain should be minimal for these two cars setting the ultimate pace.
A couple of tenths there just into the final sector. And it's those little mistakes that add up over a race distance, Paul.
Yeah, and when the car in front is making these little mistakes, it can often give you a little bit of confidence. But with Joukowsky so over a second and a bit away from the race leader, I don't think Petit is going to be spending too much time looking in his mirrors and more concentrated on pushing the car further forward through the race. So Joukowsky needs to get his head down a little bit now, tidy things up, keep it a little bit neater, and start progressively bringing that gap down if he wants to be in a fighting chance come the end of this race.
Well, interestingly, he had gained a net couple of tenths over Petit during the first 2 sectors of the lap, but lost it all again at the bus stop. So there is some inherent pace in that car as he takes another 10th or 2 out during the first part of the lap. But if he can keep this clean, well, that's the trick, really, isn't it, Paul? Keeping it clean.
It is, keeping it clean. And although these cars aren't nose to tail, they're not fighting for the same piece of tarmac at the moment, this is an impressive display of driving skill. Both drivers are pushing to the absolute limit in an event that's got a high amount of prestige. There's a very big prize at the end of it people are fighting for. And to see these guys on the ragged edge for what will, when the race comes to its conclusion, be 45 minutes.
Yes.
Is a marvellous thing to see, mate.
It is. The driving standards, particularly at the front pairing, are incredible. It seems like Joukowsky may just have a tiny bit more pace, but perhaps keeps making small errors that costing him a 10th or 2 here, which is ultimately keeping it very, very balanced. Joukowsky taking another 10th of a second out during the second sector. If he can keep it clean through bus stop, where he lost quite a bit of time last lap, we might see the times under the gap under a second for the first time in a few laps.
And this is the kind of work that Joukowsky needs to be putting in at this stage in the race, just slowly chipping away at the lead of Petit up front, to give himself, as we've said already, getting up to around 8-9 tenths of a second away from the car in front as Petit goes very deep into the bus stop chicane, loses a bagful of time to Joukowsky there. So this is going to inspire confidence in the following car, and this is the closest we've seen them for many, many laps. Joukowsky now really, really looking to put an overtaking manoeuvre on the car in front.
Yeah, that'll be because I was suggesting that Petit had made no mistakes, so it was bound to happen within half a lap or so.
With half a corner of this race, this is really, ladies and gentlemen, this has really brought the race alive at the front of the field. Joukowsky showing himself to have a little bit more pace than Petit over the last few laps, and now the car is within touching distance, getting close to the point where he'll be able to pick a slipstream up maybe in another lap or so. If this pace continues, we have got a fight at the front of the field eventually, at last, heading into the final 12 or so minutes of what has been broadly a really reasonably entertaining round final here at Spa.
Yeah, Joukowsky managed to take a massive 7/10 of a second out of Axel Petit during the last lap. Some of that was at that little incident at bus stop, but throughout the lap he just progressively crept closer and closer and closer. He's taken another half a tenth out in the first sector. This is going to get pretty spicy, Paul.
I reckon so. This is the Joukowsky goes really wide, has to catch the car again and touches the barrier on the outside, potentially lightly. No damage, I'm sure, but that is really bad news for Joukowsky. He's lost an armful of lap time there, and the gap that was closing down, and Chris needs to stop commentating on things that are happening on track, because things like opposite happens the second you say it.
They don't even wait for the end of the corner now to give me my comeuppance for making even the slightest prediction.
And that's a real pity, because that was shaping up to be a really, really strong amount of a really, really strong fight at the front of the field. But we have still got 11 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, so it's entirely possible that Joukowsky can continue pushing. We've seen already both drivers are capable of making those small mistakes that can be the difference between winning and losing the event.
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've seen Joukowsky drop back to sort of a second and a half behind and then have to do all that hard work again. So perhaps he's just something he does once every 10 minutes just to keep it interesting.
Why not? It's massively frustrating as a driver, the amount of work you have to put in at this level to close a 1.5 second gap down, only to see it thrown away by the simplest of mistakes, a little bit of snap oversteer, correcting the car, taking you away from the racing line, and that's 1.5 seconds thrown down the drain. But this time around, it's looking like Joukowsky has got a little bit more tyre life potentially, a little bit more pace, a little bit more stamina than Petit in front. So hopefully he can use that slight lap time advantage that he's shown over the last few laps to quickly close that gap down and bring this fight alive.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question for all of the drivers going into the last 10 minutes. Interestingly, top 5 separated by a little over 7 seconds. So we've been talking a lot about Petit and Joukowsky at the front, but the 3 behind are still in the running for this, Paul, particularly if small mistakes are made. Obviously, the podium position is the qualifying seats for the grand final. but there is prestige in winning this race.
There is indeed, and those fights that you're talking about are Kuba Brzezinski in 3rd position, Gassner maintaining 4th place, 1.4 behind Brzezinski, Sarika in 5th, and Versinevsky rounding out the top 6. Tamala doing a solid job hanging on in that Mercedes, but now 1.125 away. I'm afraid it looks like the Mercedes has found its natural place in the running order as we head into the final throws of the race.
Wisniewski was keeping pace with Sarika and Gassner, and that battle with Tamala, where he overtook him once, ran wide and ceded the position, then had to re-overtake him, has cost him some time, and he doesn't seem to have the pace of the guys in front of him, running a full second a lap slower than the guys in P1 to 5. So I think he's largely out of the contention now, certainly of the Bentleys.
Yep, he's in that frustrating no man's land where there's no real fight in front, no real fight behind. It's just a case of stroking it home now, bringing the car to the line, gaining what experience and knowledge you can from the race, and coming back stronger another day. As we're looking now at Mark Gassner in, surprise, surprise, the Bentley, running at P4. Gassner's also in a little bit of that land where he's not quite close enough to effect an overtake in front, nor is he far enough in front of Sarika behind to need to do any defending. So Gassner's in a difficult position where do you push and risk making a mistake?
Well, he's got to be in the top 3. He's got to push. He's got nothing to lose. And interestingly, Paul, I was commentating while you were relieving yourself of undue tension. Gassner has managed to pull in a good second or so on Brzezinski over the last 10 minutes. It's taken a long time to do that, so he's got to get the pedal down. That being said, track temperature now up to 27 degrees C. 20 minutes ago it was down at 22, so the track is evolving quite steadily, and the differences in setups may start to show, and particularly differences in tyre wear rates.
Yes, and that is not to be underestimated. At such a high speed and technical circuit as Spa-Francorchamps, the tyre life can present quite a bit of lap time advantage to somebody who's been conditioning and taking care of their car. From what I've seen of Gassner up to this point in the weekend, he's sent like a very sensible technical driver, never seems to be doing anything overly dramatic behind the wheel. So I would hazard a guess that his car is in very good condition compared to those around him. I've not seen him in the thick of any heavy battles so far, not need to do any late braking or overtaking or defending. So this will be one interesting to watch in the final 7 minutes of the race, if Gassner can continue his steady progression up to the back of Brzezinski in 3rd.
That all being said, he did make a couple of spicy overtakes in yesterday's round. I've said spicy like 3 times now. Let's drop that.
Let's go mild overtakes.
Let's go for, yes. The Nando's rating of overtakes.
Other brands are available, of course. But yeah, you're right, Gassner has shown himself very, very well over the course of this weekend, and it'll be interesting. Brzezinski, in fact, is one of the drivers that I expected to be a little bit more in the limelight this weekend, and he seems to have just done a very good but very quiet job, and then turned up in the position he needs to be at the end of the race, which is exactly what you want from a racing driver. You want them to bring home the results at the end of the race, as Gassner goes a little bit deep into the first part of the bus stop, compromise himself for the second part and the exit, and allows Sarika to close the gap behind a little bit and have a think about maybe looking to do something on the exit of the La Source hairpin and up to Eau Rouge.
Yeah, once again I talk about a driver making a charge forwards, and he then becomes under pressure from the car behind.
Yes, we really are having some good luck with that department. And Gassner now, so he's headed into the bottom of Eau Rouge. This is an incredible corner. You don't believe how steep uphill this corner is until you see it for yourself.
Well, until you walk up it.
Until you walk up it, indeed. And the Bentley makes absolutely no problem with that undulation. Eats up the straightway and continues on into Le Combe, one of my favourite corners on the circuit, as a yellow flag is raising at the top of the screen. We're not quite sure what that is for at this moment in time. Clears, goes back to green again, no harm, no foul, and Gassner maintains a very slender advantage over Sarika behind.
Yeah, Sarika's pushing very hard, so running very wide out of Malmedy there, taking a great line through Bruxelles. Looks to be pretty happy with where the car is at the moment. I suspect Gazna may be feeling under a bit more pressure than perhaps he was a lap or two ago.
That's true, and just to talk very briefly about the fight at the front of the field, Joukowsky's now dropped over 2 seconds behind Petit in the battle for victory, so maybe Joukowsky has decided that that one is not going to be on the cards for the rest of this race, as we ride on board now with Sarika. Beautiful shot, this one. The helmet cam in ACC looks fantastic. The weather conditions as the sun's rising and baking, the beautiful circuit in sunshine, the shadows going. Fantastic view, this one, Chris. Really like this view. Although struggle to drive in it.
Yeah, but I don't like driving in it either, Paul. But just watching as he came through Fania there, just how much he's having to balance the car. It looks so calm and planted from the outside, but the amount of work that Moreno Sarika is having to do. Let's watch it through Blanchimont. Yeah, little corrections. That's not a corner that you want to be having to keep the car on its tiptoes, but he's doing a beautiful job of it. Braking hard down into the bus stop, monstering the curb on the inside, trying not to hit the sausage curb. A little bit of snap oversteer in the middle just for good measure. And had we been in the helicopter cam there, we'd have thought it didn't even look like he's trying.
Exactly, and that just goes to show how hard these drivers are continuing to push into the final moments of the race. And actually Sarika now is really close to the bike of Gazda for this 4th position. So Brzezinski's using the opportunity to keep things clean up front and build a little bit of a gap, secure that all-important 3rd place. And Sarika here is really pushing hard into Eau Rouge, hoping to try and pick a little bit of a slipstream up down the Camel Straight, give himself an opportunity to position the big Bentley up the inside or even the outside into Le Combe and take away that 4th position that Gassner has held for a lot of this 45-minute race already, but I don't think he's got enough slipstream, enough overspeed at this moment in time, so he stays nice and neat behind the Bentley in front, allowing his car to fill his mirrors, giving something for Gazna to think about other than the ideal racing line he needs to select for the rest of the course. And now we've really got into a little portion of the track where overtaking's not that realistic, so maybe Gazna can relax for a few moments longer.
Yeah, something to sort of bear in mind with these cars, Paul, is they stop in such a short distance with ABS, big brakes, very big tyres for the size of car. They decelerate so well, so you can't throw a really last-minute dive bomb down the inside into somewhere like Le Combe, which isn't a particularly slow corner anyway. So he's going to have to be just that little bit closer, either through Blanchimont and up to the bus stop, or through Raidillon and Eau Rouge, which is just isn't that much fun being that close to a car in front of you, is it, Paul?
And it's not at all, and I think that's something that Gazna has recognised by making sure he's very strong on corner exit, compromising himself deliberately sometimes on the arrival into the corner to ensure that he gets the best push off of the turn as is possible.
But the speed of these two drivers, actually, Paul, is dragging them closer to Brzezinski ahead of them, and once again that 2-car fight looking to start to become a 3-car fight.
That's right, and at the front, as I was speaking about writing off Joukowsky's chances not long ago, he's now taken a second out of Petit in front, so the gap now is reduced back down to just over 1 second, when previously it was 2.3, if memory serves me correct. So the fight at the front of the field is very much coming back alive again, and the fight for P3, as Chris rightly said, is also very much starting to heat up into the melting point as we head into what is pretty much going to be the final lap of the race. So still all to play for, still maximum pressure for everyone concerned, and I wouldn't like to bet on what the final running order is going to be, not until they've crossed the line and the checkered flag has been waved at least.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit too late for some of the drivers, but we've still got battle for third, fourth and fifth, but I think Petit's probably got this covered now.
Yeah, Petit potentially has got this covered, but we've seen drivers make mistakes oh so late into the race, even when under no pressure. So we'll stay with this one to see who's going to take the top 3 positions and the important ticket to take them to Barcelona for the season finale at the end of September. But regardless of how this race finishes, all our drivers have performed superbly throughout this 45-minute race, showing some high-class driving, as Brzezinski now is under the most pressure he's been under for at least 30 minutes.
And under the most pressure of anyone on the circuit. He's in the last of the qualifying positions and has 2 large yachts behind him.
Yes.
Trying to make an impression, maybe a last-minute move down into the bus stop. He's going to have to be aware. Gasner's got nothing to lose by trying a very late overtake.
Yeah, Brzezinski's got to spot every braking zone absolutely perfectly, find every apex, get the car off the corner, smooth as he possibly can.
Look how much
no running wide is needed. That's going to be a dangerous move for him. Sorry, Chris.
Look how much curb Gasner was willing to take through Campos. He's put him in a fantastic position to get the drag up the hill towards Blanchimont. This is going to be a last-ditch effort.
This is absolutely a critical moment in the race for these two drivers, while you've got Sirica sat behind as well, seeing what's going to happen. Brzezinski is held third position for the vast majority of this race, looks to the inside, defends the inside line, gets on the slowing down pedal, does a nice job, a little bit untidy, but fine, as somebody dives into the pit lane now. Brzezinski remains in third position. He's got a gap now to Gasner that's going to keep him nice and safe as the drivers look to come across the line, and that is a race victory, a well-deserved and a very good quality race victory for Axel Petit. Joukowsky second, Brzezinski manages to hold on to that third place. Sirica takes fourth, Gasner not quite enough to make the battle cross the finish line, finishes fifth.
It was Gasner that dived into the pit lane at the end there.
Could that have been a mistake from Gasner? We were looking for a strategic move, see if that's going to take him closer to the finish line rather than taking the track.
What that was about.
No, maybe somebody, I remember once I went to the British Grand Prix and Michael Schumacher went through the Silverstone pits because it took him to the line first. So
maybe had a penalty to serve. I don't know. We don't have that information.
But a great race, Chris. Again, really enjoyed it. It's quietened down in the middle, as motor racers often do, but came alive in the final few moments.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, if you watch the Blancpain sprint rounds, which are about an hour long, the first half an hour tends to be pretty mad. Then after the pit stops, it can get a little bit quiet and tends to heat up again towards the end. So this was very much in the same vein.
Yep, so we hope you guys have enjoyed it at home as well, as much as we've enjoyed watching it. Do stay tuned to the RDTV Twitch channel, where we're going to be presenting all the races from this season. We've got Nürburgring next, but Barcelona season finale as well.
Yeah, Nürburgring obviously taking place at the same time as Sim Racing Expo, so that's going to be a big one for absolutely everybody involved.
It certainly is, but again, Spa, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it to anyone who'll listen for the next 3 weeks. Is an absolutely fabulous place. It's a great virtual track. It's one I enjoy in sim racing hugely. The real world circuit is even better than you think it's going to be when you watch it on the TV. And our drivers have been phenomenal across all 4 races, but in particular, really clean, really professional, and really fast today.
I must admit, I'm not surprised to see Joukowsky and Brzezinski on the podium, the top 3. In their races yesterday, they looked really quick and clean. Axel Petit, though, took the spoils in the end and did just a perfect job.
He did. Keep putting my hand to my ear because the GT3 car driving past makes it very difficult to lip read what Chris is saying, sat just next to me. And yeah, I think that's a really well-deserved podium position finishes that we've had today.
I mean, look at Axel Petit's race. From what we saw, one mistake. He braked a tiny bit too late for bus stop and ran 3 meters wide, Paul.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I saw.
In a 45-minute race where the pace has been absolutely at its highest. But
yeah, interestingly, the pace towards the end at the front, in the 2:18.3s, 2:18.5s for most of the field, best laps were a good second clear of that. Interestingly, the fastest lap of the race, from what I can see, was Moreno Sirica in the 2:16, so that was a strong time. Obviously, we will be presenting the awards for fastest lap later. I'm not sure in fact, it may even been Gianfranco Giglioli in the 2:16s as well. Lots of fast laps from the guys at the back that were perhaps knocked out of the running.
Yes.
Maybe, which would certainly explain why we saw a couple of pit stops and being several laps down. Obviously, with an award for the fastest lap, if you're out of contention, you might as well try and get the fastest lap.
That's a really good point, actually.
We see it in the Formula One, and we see it in other events that reward fastest lap with points or prizes.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, and that may well have been some of the strategic driving from our teams. I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody at home for listening to us blabber on for a weekend. Our drivers for taking part and providing a fantastic show. The sponsors, the organisers, the people behind the cameras that set up and make this event run so smoothly. And a Spa for being wet and wonderful
yeah, for finally being wet and wonderful and bringing the classic Spa weather after one of the hottest weeks in European history.
Yep. So you guys watching at home, stay with us. We'll be awarding our trophies to the finishers very, very shortly indeed. And a little bit later on, as always, our drivers will be going on to the real world podium just before the Blank Pan Series GT race winners from the total 24 hours of Spa.
So let me go, first of all, the fastest lap of the race goes to Gianfranco Giglioli. Vieni Gianfranco. 2:16 and 2. What a lap.
Thank you very much. This is a little bit of breath after a disappointing race. I prepared this race to get into the podium, and I was sure to get into the podium because I was fast in race, a little bit less in qualifying. The other guys were very, very fast in this qualifying because in the past practices and qualifying, I never seen these times. So I was surprised, but I was confident for the race. Little bit disappointed because I get took by Nicodem in Lecom, and yeah, at the end, yeah, I was just smashed by my teammate, but he has no fault about that. I was just spin in the middle of the race, or in the middle of the track. So then I just went into the track to get something to home, to bring something.
Yeah, you kind of stopped, look at those tires, and then you started again flying for the fastest lap. So, congrats for it. Help me. Help me. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So yeah, smile, well deserved, and see you next time, hopefully. Yeah, ciao Gianfranco. Now, coming to the podium, I will test all my pronunciation for Kuma Brzezinski. What a race. How was it?
I mean, to be honest, I wasn't expecting to finish P3 because I launched the game for the first time 3 days ago. But after qualifying P6, I knew my race pace was better than my quali pace. So yeah, I knew that was possible. I just needed a little bit of luck, and it happened.
So wait, you started practicing 2 days ago?
Yeah, 3 days ago, yeah.
Wow, well. But it was intense practicing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I could. I worked full time as well, so I didn't have that much time, but yeah, as much as I could.
Congrats, really great race. You will get your cup on the real podium in television, so go and make up yourself. Bye, congrats. In second position, Axel Petit. A good race, unfortunately a contact that costed 5 seconds penalty to you. You should have avoided because you were in the first 3 position, but you know, racing in a close situation is never easy, and that demonstrates it. So congrats for the performance. Was it difficult to get there?
Yeah, it was very difficult. I have the good pace and regularity, but I made a mistake with Jovi. I'm really sorry for that. Yeah, I'm happy to finish in P2.
Okay, so see you on the podium. Again, congrats. Thank you for coming. And now for the first position, I remember his name because at the first event for Monza, he did a great silver qualifying, showing to the world his talent with some really good pace laps. One after the other is Aron Joukowsky. Wow, man. You are always flying. What is your secret? What do you eat?
Usual stuff.
How was the race?
The start was great. I tried to stay behind Axel, and yeah, I was trying to be as close as to him, so the guys behind won't catch up.
How many hours each week you spend to train on Assetto Corsa Competizione?
I didn't hear the question.
How many time do you spend training in Assetto Corsa Competizione?
For this event, I spent like probably around 15 hours, something like that.
Yeah, congrats again. So see you on the podium and then see you in Barcelona for the final. Congrats. So guys, thank you for being here. Again, thank to all the partners, AK Informatica in pole position and all these guys, Alessandra, Joele, Christian, Nicolas from the direction, All the guys were simply amazing. I would like to thank RaceDepartment for the great streaming services and race commentary, all the drivers, our sponsors, Pirelli, obviously Kuno Simulazioni, and Lamborghini Squadra Corsa that will host and give the final prize of the competition. So thank you everyone, have a good afternoon, have a good finish for the real blank paint race. See you next time.